What's happening, YouTube? It's your boy, Intergalactic Brew. Here to do my UFC fight night Battle of the Bayou predictions. It's going down, New Orleans, 9 o'clock on Spike TV or Versus, one of those channels. So, yeah, let's get it on. First fight I want to talk about, Alan Belcher, Jason McDonald. Alan Belcher's coming off, like a year and a half layoff. He was supposed to come back earlier this year, 2011, but lingering injuries prevented that from happening. But nevertheless, he is back, and he's going to be taking on a very capable opponent in Jason the Athlete McDonald. Basically, what Alan Belcher needs to do is, I would prefer he would keep the fight standing, because after all, he is the better striker. He's got the better arsenal as far as striking is concerned. He's got the kicks, the knees, the punches, the elbows, whatever you prefer. He's got it all. Got some decent jiu-jitsu to go along with that. But if I know Alan Belcher, he's going to come back with a bang, and he's going to try to, take the fans' breath away, so to speak. And he's going to keep the fight standing, and he's going to want to look to knock Jason McDonald out in very spectacular fashion. So that's basically his MO. Jason McDonald, what he wants to do simply is get the fight to the ground. He's a solid mat fighter, or a solid grappler, to be more specific. What I would suggest is he try to get Belcher up against the cage and take him down. Jason McDonald, on the other hand, doesn't have bad striking himself, but I don't think it matches up to the level of Alan Belcher. So I would just say, just basically try to out wrestle Belcher, get him up against the cage. Just use that size and strength, get him to the ground. Beat him up a little bit with ground and pound, and eventually look for a submission, which I do think Jason McDonald is going to try to do. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think that Alan Belcher's striking is going to be a little bit too much for Jason McDonald. Now, of course, not to be delusional, Alan Belcher's layoff, is real. It does exist, so some signs of rust could show, but I don't think it'll be that much to the point where he'll just make a mistake against McDonald. At least I hope he doesn't. But he's going to be well prepared. Alan Belcher trains with a good team, Rufus Sport. Those guys are always sharp. So yeah, like I said, the rust does exist, and it could reveal itself during the fight at some points, but I don't think it'll be that bad. But in the end, I do see Alan Belcher winning this fight, and I'm going to pick him by KO. I don't know what round, but I'm going to pick him by KO. So yeah, Alan Belcher is going to come back and win this fight, and just captivating form, I believe. But I mean, like I said, Jason McDonald's always got a chance. You can never count him out. If he can somehow find a way to ground Belcher and pin him on the canvas and not let him get back to his feet, Jason McDonald could easily, spoil this return for Alan Belcher. So there you go. Next fight is Jonathan Brookins versus Eric Koch, whichever one it is. I'm going to go with Koch. Jonathan Brookins, much like Alan Belcher, is spent some time away from the octagon. Haven't really seen him since the Ultimate Fighter finale, 11 season with St. Pierre and Koscheck. when he fought Michael Johnson and just completely dominated him pretty much throughout most of the fight. I mean, Johnson had his moments. You know, he took him down, you know, beat him up a little bit. Well, he really didn't beat him up too much. He really just basically did, you know, like what GSP would do, just take him down and just basically, you know, lay on him and, you know, maybe, you know, hit him with little tiny shots or whatever. But for the most part, Jonathan Brookins displayed all around good mixed martial arts fighting, and he was able to get the unanimous decision and walk away with the Ultimate Fighter trophy. So, but ever since then, we really haven't seen too much of him. He's making his return tonight as well against Eric Koch, who is a very dangerous striker. You know, another Duke Rufus Sport product. You know, trains with Pat Barry, Showtime Anthony Pettis, Eric Schaefer, Matt Mitrione, all those guys. So Eric Koch is, you know, not the one to be overlooked here. You know, like I said, he's got very sharp, deadly striking. I've watched some of his highlights and footage on YouTube just the other day, and he does have the knockout power to beat Jonathan Brookins. But I just think that being that Jonathan Brookins trained with GSP on The Ultimate Fighter, and GSP kind of installed that, you know, well-roundedness in his fighters, I think that Jonathan Brookins is going to take that with him throughout the rest of his UFC career. And I just think that Jonathan Brookins might outclass him. You know, I think he's got solid striking. I don't think it's better than Koch's, but I think it's solid enough, you know, to hang with Koch. But I think with Koch being the dangerous striker that he is, I think that Brookins is going to try and submit this guy, you know, and just try to, you know, out-grapple him and just take away that whole striking portion of the fight all together. So I just think that Jonathan Brookins, you know, I think he's going to try to test, you know, the striking a little bit with Koch, you know, fill him out maybe for the first round, and the second round, you know, that's where we're going to see, you know, the takedowns and the control on the ground, because Jonathan Brookins has very good control, you know, to be, you know, not a pure wrestler per se, but as kind of like a jiu-jitsu guy. But, you know, he's one of those jiu-jitsu fighters, you know, like Damian Maia, that can control his opponent on the ground, and I think that's what we're going to see here. And I think eventually he's going to, you know, find an opening, and I think he's going to end up getting the submission. So I'm picking Jonathan Brookins in this fight by submission, but, you know, like I said, Eric Koch is dangerous, and if Brookins does make the mistake and does get egotistical and try to, you know, step foot in the water that he's not supposed to be stepping into, he's going to get drowned. Or he's going to drown, I should say. So, you know, if he expects to win this fight, you know, don't stand with Koch too long. You know, do what you do best. Take him down, control him, look for the submission. Bottom line. But I'm picking Jonathan Brookins by submission. But, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Koch knocked him out either. So there you go. Next fight, Court McGee versus Dong Yi Yang. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Court McGee, better wrestler. Dong Yi Yang, I heard he's a decent striker. But for Court McGee, you know, I saw his fight with Chris McCray. I think that, I saw that fight. And Court McGee, you know, he took some heavy shots from McCray and still continued to fight. So he's a tough guy. He's got a really hard chin. So he'll be very hard, you know, to knock out. So I think for the most part, I think Court McGee is going to do the right thing, and he's going to try to control Yang on the ground and try to beat him up. He could possibly get a submission on Yang. I don't know how good Yang's submission defense is, but Court McGee, being the wrestler that he is, I think he can control this guy. So I'm going to pick Court McGee by decision. Okay, the main event. I actually discussed this fight on my MMA show with my buddy Kurt Johnson. It's called MMA Mayhem. You can go to the website. It's www.mmamayhematl.blogspot.com, and you can listen to our latest episode where we were discussing this very event. And this was one of the main events that, it was kind of hard to pick because both guys are good. Both guys are on, pretty decent streaks right now, even though Jake Shields is coming off a loss. But before that, I mean, he was just tearing it up all over the place. But anyway, it's going to be Jake Shields against Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger. Basically, we know Jake Shields' MO. I mean, he was undefeated for 4 years, hadn't lost a fight, was beating everybody, and their auntie, winning medals and titles all over the place. Jake Ellenberger, a very determined, driven up-and-comer, who has made, a name for himself also. He took Carlos Condit to the limit in his debut. He's knocked out Mike Pyle. He's knocked out John Howard. He recently, just came off a big KO win in his last fight. He was, he wanted, he for a while, he was calling out guys, like John Fitch and really the elite of the division. But, he's worked his way up now to this fight with an elite welterweight, probably one of the top welterweights in the world, Jake Shields. So, even though he didn't get the competition that he wanted back then, eventually, it caught back up to him, and he is fighting, elite competition after all. So, congratulations, Jake Ellenberger. Now, as far as the fight is concerned, basically what you have is two polished wrestlers. One has, of course, jiu-jitsu along with his wrestling, which is Jake Shields. And then you have the other, Jake Ellenberger, who has that thunderous knockout power to go along with his polished wrestling ability. So, basically what you have is you have two top-notch grapplers with added skill. Jake Shields, like I said, has the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Jake Shields has the striking. Simple as that. Now, what I said on my show was that Jake Shields, has really never faced a guy that, has big power in his hands along with excellent wrestling. And with Jake Ellenberger being that guy, I think he's going to, pose a very dangerous challenge for Shields. Because along with just being a dominant wrestler, he also has good takedown defense as well. So the question is, if Jake Shields is going to win this fight, how is he going to be able to get Jake Ellenberger to the ground? Will he shoot in? Will he set it up with strikes? I mean, how is he going to get this guy to the ground? And Jake Shields is freakishly strong too. So that's another factor to put into the fight. And Jake Shields, man, his knockout power is, it's explosive. It really is. I mean, if he hits you, one good time on the chops, you're going to be seeing Tweety birds, as they say. So, I just don't know how Jake Shields is going to withstand that, So, with that being said, I'm going to pick the upset here, and I think that Jake Ellenberger's knockout power, along with his takedown defense, is going to frustrate Jake Shields, and I think he's going to, at some point in the fight, catch Jake Shields. So I'm picking Jake Ellenberger knockout.